Maggid Harakiah. Welcome everyone. This is already a tradition. It's already a Messiah to come to the house of Yedidi Rabbi Yaakov Klein on the Yom Tov of Sukkot. We're doing this now more than 10 years. We started by Rabbi Sachar back in the day, more than 10 years ago. Ad Kedei Kach, even my Zayda was zeicha to be at this gathering one year, and he even said Divrei Torah, and I'm very honored to have my dear uncle, Tzvi Hirschfang, every year, and it's a big kavod for me, and it's a very big ni'imus that my uncle came, and we on the sign it says Satmar Simchas Beis Hashoeiva. So people were asking, what do you mean Satmar Simchas Beis Hashoeiva? It's in someone's house. There are a few people who are Satmar. No, what is Satmar? Satmar is the Torah of Satmar. So Rabbi Yaakov wrote a sefer on the Torah of the Rebbe, or Mufla. I have it by my Svarim. I use it even for the Shiurim, and it's Hachnasas Orchim. So this is the mitzvah Hachnasas Orchim. So we already grandfathered in the name Satmar Simchas Hashoeiva, and nobody protested yet. So it already got they say grandfathered in the shame. And Bez Hashem, we hope this mishpacha, this Beis, and this Sukkah should only have Simchas and Nachas and Suras Toivos, and it should be a makam of Torah and Chesed, Ad Bias Kol Tzedek, and for all the Mishtatfim. Okay, so this year's a good one. Hopefully we'll have a deeper understanding of the topic that we're going to learn about. Certainly we're not going to exhaust it to the full extent, but we'll have a deeper understanding of a very profound topic. The Rambam brings in Simchat Torah Samach Zayin that Yesh Nohagu, there are those who have a minhag, and I believe this is pretty much practice and widespread. It's nafutz b'klal Yisrael. That on when you leave the Sukkah, on the final time you leave the Sukkah, I'm not going to get in now which day you leave the Sukkah right now. You have to know where you are, right? But when you leave the Sukkah, Hayu Oimrim, they would say, Yehi Ratzain Shenizka Leishev the Sukkah Shel Levyasan. Should be Zoicha, it should be the will of the Rebbeinu Shalom that we should be Zoicha to sit in the Sukkah of the Levyasan. What does this come from? What does it mean that we should be Zoicha to sit in the Sukkah of the Levyasan? It comes from the Gemara Bava Basra. The Gemara says on Daf Ayin Hey, Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asir HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasos Sukkah L'Tzadikim Mei Oiroi Shel Levyasan. The Rebbeinu Shalom is destined to make a sukkah for the tzaddikim from the skin of the Levyasan. Shenemar Hatimale Besukos Oiroi. And if you're Zoicha, it will be a sukkah. And if you're not Zoicha, it will be less of a sukkah. And if you're not Zoicha, it will be a necklace. And if you're not Zoicha, it will be a kameya. You'll get something from it. You'll get something from it. And the Shirayim, the Rebbeinu Shalom, will spread over Chomes Yerushalayim. And its light will emanate, Mesoif ha'olam b'yad soifai. Okay? So the Gemara says, in the future, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make a sukkah for the tzaddikim out of a fish. Out of a fish. Trying to see if there's a decoration of the Levyasans. But la'aseh love, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make a sukkah for the tzaddikim from the skin of the Levyasan. In fact, if you look in the Yalkut Shimoni, he says, now you'll ask, does this have anything to do with the mitzvah of Sukkah? Just because the Gemara says, La'asad Lavai, the Rebbeinu Shalom is destined to make a Sukkah for the tzaddikim, does that have anything to do with mitzvah Sukkah? So if you look in Yalkut Shimoni, the Yalkut says, Kol mi shemekayim mitzvah Sukkah ba'olam hazeh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moishivoi Besukasoi Shel Levyasan L'Asad Lavai. That's l'chayra where the tefillah comes from. It comes from the Yalkut Shimoni. The Gemara says that the Rebbeinu Shalom is destined to make a sukkah for the tzaddikim. The Medrash says, for who? Anyone who's mekayim mitzvah sukkah, the Rebbeinu Shalom will make a sukkah from the Levyasan. Now, what's interesting is the nusach of our tefillah is different than the way the Ramah says it. If you look carefully in the Ramah says, Yehi Ratzain Shenizka Leishev Besukkah Shel Levyasan. But the Ramah doesn't say when. The nusach in our machzorim is Yehi Ratzain Ufanach Hashem Lekenu Mekayah V'Seinu Kashem Shekiyamti V'Yashavti Besukkah Zu Kein Ezke L'Shana Haba. So the tefillah already added, when are we going to be zocheh to sit in Oiroi Shel Levyasan? Next year. Now, next year implies ka'es chaya, next year this time. When you say Lashana Haba, you mean next year this time, meaning on Sukkot. Besukkas oirei shel Levyasan. So the nusach hatfila is a little bit different than the way the Rama says it. So comes Bikurei Yaakov. Bikurei Yaakov is Aruch Laner, Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger. By the way, the Bikurei Yaakov sent the Gilyonos of Bikurei Yaakov to Rabbi Kiva Eger, and Rabbi Kiva Eger wrote Hagois on part of Bikurei Yaakov. Rabbi Kiva Eger sent back, when he has more time, he'll write more Hagois. And in the Hakdama to Bikurei Yaakov, he brings that Rabbi Kiva Eger was halach lo'ilamai in that first year, so he wasn't able to write Hagois on the whole Bikurei Yaakov. But you see the godless of the Bikurei Yaakov that Rabbi Kiva Eger wrote Hagois on it. Comes Bikurei Yaakov, and he says that the nusach in the Ramah, where does the Ramah come from? The Ramah is from the Kolboi. It's in the Darkei Moshe also, and in the Sefer Chemdas Yamim, which is a subject in and of itself, who's the Chemdas Yamim. But, says the Bikurei Yaakov, the nusach in our Sidurim is a bit different. What's the nusach in our Sidurim? Nizka l'shana haba leishev besukkas oyer shel Levyasan. The nusach in our Sidurim is next year. Fine. Says Bikurei Yaakov, the nusach in the Sidurim, l'chayra, is nuscha mutas. L'chayra, it's a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Because even though the Gemara in Bava Basra says that Hashem is destined to make a sukkah for tzaddikim from oirei shel Levyasan, the Gemara is not talking about the sukkah you sit in on Sukkot. The Gemara is talking about on a hot day when you need some shade, the Rebbeinu is going to make a canopy from the Levyasan. The Gemara doesn't mean on Sukkot. It can't be sukkah mitzvah. You're allowed to make a sukkah out of a fish. You can't make a sukkah out of a fish. It's not gidulei karka, even though it's not mekabel tumah, it's not gidulei karka. So the Gemara can't mean sukkah mitzvah. The Marsha is mashma that it's referring to sukkah mitzvah. The Marsha is a tzarachian for the same reason that it can't be sukkah mitzvah. And the words l'shana haba are mashma ka'es chaya, says the Bikurei Yaakov. It's mashma next year. Therefore, says the Bikurei Yaakov, la'anias daiti, don't say what it says in the Machzorim. What should you change? Take out the words l'shana haba. Next, meaning you should say, like the Ramazah, Yiratzon shenizka leisha b'suk shel Levyasan. When? On Lag Boimer, on Tu B'Shvat, on Chaf Aleph Kislev, whenever you want to sit in the Sukkah of Levyasan, but not on Sukkot. Any day but Sukkot, not Lashana. Just take out the words Lashana Haba. Or, says Bikurei Yaakov, or don't say the words Sukkas Oiroi, meaning next year you'll sit Leishev Levyasan. And what does that mean? A different Gemara in Bava Basra. There are two almost identical Gemaras in Bava Basra. One Gemara says, Hashem is going to make a sukkah out of oirei shel Levyasan. And one Gemara says, on Daf Ayin Hey Amid Aleph, that Hashem is going to make a Suda, I believe that should say, a number says Ayin Dalet Amid Beis, Hashem is going to make a Suda for the tzaddikim from the basar of the Levyasan. It's a different Indian. One is an umbrella from the Levyasan, and one is the meal is going to come from the flesh of the Levyasan. Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasos Suda L'Tzadikim Mi B'Saroi Shel Levyasan. So it says Archaner, take out the words sukkah, take out the words oir sukkah, sukkas oiroi, and just say leishev b'Levyasan, and that's going to be referring to the Suda and not to the protection of Levyasan. But either way, says Bikurei Yaakov, the nusach that we have in our Machzorim is l'chayra mutas. Say either like the Ramah, leishev b'Sukkah shel Levyasan without l'shana haba, or take out sukkas oiroi, and then you could say l'shana haba. Okay, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what Bikurei Yaakov says. Fine. There's a Yalkut HaGershuni, Rav Gershon Stern, who says something very interesting. I don't know enough about it. I'm going to tell you what he says. You'll think about it tonight when you go to sleep. You'll think about it. It's a very interesting Indian. I wasn't familiar with this idea. L'chayra tzarachian, exactly what he means. But he wants to faren for the Marsha from the Kasha of the Bikurei Yaakov. And he says like this. He says, no, if it says in the Machzor, Maybe there's basis for it. After all, the Marsha does say that the Sukkah that the Rebbe Hashem is going to make from the Levyasan is referring to Sukkah's mitzvah. So how could the Sukkah's mitzvah come from the Levyasan? So says the Yalkar Gershuni, who's the Baal HaMemra that Asar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasei Sukkah Me'ora Shel Levyasan? It's Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan. You know, Rabbi Yochanan holds that you're allowed to bury a mess in tachrichin shel klayim. Let's say you have a bekesha and it's full of klayim. What do you do with it? You can throw it in the garbage? My understanding is it's an expensive zach, the bekesha, no? I mean, you tell me. So what do? You could bury someone in it. You bury him in it. Why? When he wakes up, he's gonna look for the what do they call it? The Shanas label. He's going to wake up, he's going to wash Negel Vaser, he's going to say Moed Ani, he's going to look for the Shanas label. No, it's not a problem. Mitzvahs betelois la'asad lavai. Rabbi Yochanan holds mitzvahs betelois la'asad lavai. So ask the Yakar Gershoni, chas v'shalom, mitzvahs betelois la'asad lavai. Doesn't the Rambam say, ani mamin b'emunah shalema, she'torah zu lo yitei muchlefes? So says the Yakar Gershoni, avada, no mitzvah will be abolished la'asad lavai. What it means is, there'll still be a din of klayim, but what klayim will mean could change. Maybe la'asad lavai klayim will be wool and silk, or maybe it will be wool and nylon. Now it's wool and linen. Just because there's a din of klayim, and klayim won't become batal, the din of klayim won't become batal, but the pratim of klayim could change. Yaakov, I never heard of this. He says v'haraya, la'asad lavai, we're going to pass on like Beis Shammai. So you see, the prate and gidrei mitzvah could change la'asad lavai. He says, the Gemara even says that la'asad lavai, Hashem's going to shech the shar habar with the fins of the Levyasan. Yeah, but you can't shecht with fins. So another raya, la'asad lavai, you'll be able to shecht with fins. So just because mitzvahs eino betelos, that means the klal of the mitzvah in a batelas, but pratei ha-mitzvah could be batal. So it could be la'asad lavai. You will be able to use a fish for a sukkah. That's the approach of the Yakar HaGershuni. Im kabalahi nekabel. If there's such an idea that pratei ha-mitzvah could change, I personally never heard of such a thing. I would prefer to understand this perhaps in a different way, and to try to answer the Marsha, what is this tefillah? Yiratzain shenizgat l'shana haba besukkas orei shel Levyasan. After all, Sukkas Levyasan l'chayra is pasal. Okay, that's the first question. Next question. Yeah, they do Simchas Torah in Williamsburg, right? They do Simchas Torah. What's Simchas Torah? You ask most people, what's Simchas Torah? We finish the Torah. We finished laning the Torah. We're going to lane V'zois HaBracha. We're going to lane V'zois HaBracha on Friday, and then Gomra Shel Torah. Yeah. So what happened in Eretz Yisrael when they had a 3-year cycle? When they laned the whole Torah once every 3 years, right? The Gemara talks about that in Bavel they laned it every year, and in Eretz Yisrael they laned it every 3 years. So what? They only had Simchas Torah once every 3 years? Did they have an annual Simchas Torah when there was a 3-year cycle? L'chayra, they had Simchas Torah every year. Do we have any record that they had Simchas Torah every year? Yeah, the Zohar HaKadosh writes that on Simchas Torah, on Shmini Atzeret, we rejoice with the Torah. Noya again, look at number 9. Lemebad Yisrael imei chedva v'skaria Simchas Torah uma'achun l'sefer Torah b'kaseh. Well, why do they have Simchas Torah every year if they only finish the Torah once every 3 years? Must be Simchas Torah is not because we finished the Torah. There must be a different reason we're mesameach in the Torah, not just because we finish, because they didn't always finish once a year. There were places they finished once every 3 years, and they still celebrated Simchas Torah. I want to bring to your attention a very interesting phenomenon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. The share could continue on after that. But I want to bring to your attention a very interesting phenomenon. Probably, even here, there is such a phenomenon that it comes Simchas Torah, And there may be some people that don't fully appreciate what the day is, what the yom is, and instead of celebrating b'derech ruchani, they don't know what to do with themselves. So it could be, by some people, it becomes a day of mamish immersion in gashmius like no other day of the year. Does such a thing exist? Where people they're mamish, they become into dogim, herring, basar, yayin. Could it be? Are there anybody? You heard about such a thing. Not here, somewhere else, right? Not here, elsewhere. Mustami, you've heard of such a thing, that it could be all of a sudden it comes Simchas Torah, and people want to be Mesameach, and they can't put their finger on it, they don't know what they want. So they channel their desire to be Mesameach in basar, dagim, and yayin. So it seems like you might know what I'm talking about, yeah? What's the pshat in such a thing? Why, of all the days of the year, all of a sudden, that means there's a real cheshek to be mesameach, there's a real desire to be besimcha, but it seems like there's a lack of awareness of, okay, how do I channel the simcha on Simchas Torah? Let's try to explain that. In the Ma'aser Rav, which are the minhagim of the Vilna Gaon, he brings that Hagoin Zal Haya Sameach Ma'od B'Chag HaSukkos. The Vilna Gaon was very joyous on Sukkot. Uviyoyser b'Shmini Atzeret, even more so on Shmini Atzeret. Ki hu yoyser yom simcha mikol yemei hachag al pi hasoid. It's the happiest day of more than any of the days of Sukkot al pi Kabbalah. So the Goin was very happy on Sukkot. He was even happier on Shmini Atzeret. It was the happiest day. It was even happier than the rest of Sukkot al pi Kabbalah. That's very interesting. You know, the Goin was one who did not waste a moment of his life. We have a Messiah that the Goin was able to count the moments that he felt he did not make complete use of. At the end of the year, he had a cheshbon of regoim that perhaps he could have made better use of. And yet the Goin of all people was the one who was in the greatest simcha on the Yom Tov Sukkot, befrat b'Shmini Atzeret. Rabbi say, why is Sukkot zman simchaseinu? What are we so happy about? What are we so happy? What are we rejoicing? What are we being mesamech about? You know that on Sukkot it says 3 times simcha in the Torah. On Pesach it doesn't even say once simcha. It says smachtem l'fnei Hashem l'keichem. It says v'samachta b'chagecha v'yisach sameach. 3 times it says simcha. But Pesach it doesn't. Why? What are we rejoicing in? What's the simcha? What happened to us that's so great that we're so happy? Because we had clouds. When you wake up in the morning, you see clouds. So it's a good day for you. Clouds engender so much happiness. In the Tosfos Ma'aser Rav, he brings that the 7 days of Sukkot are connected to the Ayin Umos, but Shmini Atzeret is Dugmas Olam Haba. And Olam Haba lo yis'ariv zar b'simchasein. So what does this mean? You ready? Comes the Vilna Gaon in the Even Shlema. Even Shlema is like a likud of different ma'amarim and the different ksavim of the Vilna Gaon. And the Even Shlema opens up a new understanding of Bechlal, the entire Chodesh Tishrei, uvefrat Shmini Atzeret, and L'chayra Simchas Torah. Says the Gaon, Kol ha'inyanim shebechodesh Tishrei, heim remez la'asad lavai. All of the concepts in Chodesh Tishrei are a remez to la'asad lavai. How so? Ki mitchilahu yom adin b'Rosh Hashanah. First you have the Day of Judgment. V'achar kach slichas ha'avonis v'yom HaKippurim. Then you have atonement on Yom Kippur. V'achar kach Sukkos, and then Shmini Atzeret v'Simchasan. Okay, so you have 4 days: Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkos, Shmini Atzeret. Says the Gaon, v'chein la'asad lavai. First you have Yom Hadin Hagadol. First you have the great day of judgment. Then you have the Rebbeinu Shalom comes, the Navi Cheskel says, and he's going to sprinkle on us mayim tahirim. Ki eslach la'asher asher. There will be a great day of kapara. Then there will be Sukkah, chuppah sheva kayadua. La'asad lavai, there will be canopies. Zman simchaseinu. V'achar kach Shmini Atzeret. What will happen? What is Shmini Atzeret? Sheyichlu hakoifrim b'lekei ames. The heretics will vanish. V'yismechu Yisrael levadam. And you know what will happen? Shmini Atzeret. V'yoichlu shalosh sudosh shel Shabbos. You're gonna have 3 meals. Meal number 1. Sudas behimois beharei olef. The shar habar in English, the behemoth, the big ox. Basar. Yeah, you think busar, but you know Rabbi Kiva didn't like this joke, but I'll tell it to you anyway. There's a shaila in halacha. Is chicken meat? Is chicken meat? Can you be yoyse simchas yondu with chicken? So a guy got up, he said, what do you mean? It says by the bris ben abasarim, ve'esat tzipar loy basar. The chicken, the bird is not basar. So Rabbi Kiva was moicha. So you can't use a pasuk to make late sonis out of a pasuk. Rabbi Kiva was moicha, he walked out. So I had a kasha on that. We have a Kabbalah that Rabbi Kiva once wrote for a shoichet, where he wrote, Kivan shanitein reshus lehashchiz shuv einoi, his eye, mavchin bein toiv l'ra. So Rabbi Kiva used the pasuk. I'll let you think about that. There's an answer, but let's come back to the meal. La'asid lavai, there are going to be 3 meals. Number 1, Baharei Olef, Behemoth Aryof, the Shar Habar. Number 2, Sudas Levyasan. Number 3, Yayin Hamishumar. What are these things? So we already saw Sudas Levyasan. The Gemara says in Bava Basar Daf Ayin Hey that Asa Amar Rabbi Yochanan Asar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasois Suda L'Tzadikim Mi Basar Shel Levyasan. One of the big meals L'Asar Lavai is going to be the meat of the Levyasan. What's Behimois Baharei Olaf? Look at number 13 in the Gemara in Bava Basra in Daud Amud Beis. The Gemara says everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created is Zachar Unekeva. The Levyasan Hashem created Zachar Unekeva. Ma'asa Sires es HaZachar V'harages HaNekeva. The Gemara continues, Va'af behemois baharei olef zachor nekeva baram vil malin is gakin zelazeh, if they would come together machrivin kol olam kulai. So Hashem was masaris the zachar, and he put the nekeva in the refrigerator. Vishamra letzadikim la'asid lavai. There's something called sudas shar habar. And then there's a third suda. The third suda is the Gemara Brachas Lamadayin Beis, look at number 14. Mai ayin lo yira'asa am Rabbi Shov ben Levi zeh yayin hameshumar ba'anavav misheshes yimei bereishis. There is such a concept that the Rebbeinu Shem preserved wine in the grape from the 6 days of creation, and that's a third Suda. Says the Goin La'asid Lavai, there'll be 3 Sudai Shabbos. Number 1, Sudas Behimois Baharei Olef. Number 2, Sudas Levyasan. Number 3, Yayin Hameshumar. What corresponds to these 3 Sudais? Shmini Atzeret. Simchat Torah is the 3 Sudais La'asid Lavai. To me, there's no question that the Nishmas Yisrael on Simchat Torah and Shmini Atzeret senses something big is supposed to happen today, something with a Shar Habar, something with Yayin HaMeshumar, something with the Levyasan. They don't know exactly what that means, so until they see it, herring, meat, and Yayin. It has to be. Otherwise, how do you explain this phenomenon? All of a sudden, Dafka on Simchat Torah, Yidden should be looking for these in Yonim? The answer is, it's seared into our neshama that this day is designated for the basar of the Levyasan, for the basar of the Shar Habar, for the Yayin HaMeshumar. But now it's kedai not to waste the yearning for these things on counterfeit Levyasan and counterfeit Shar Habar and counterfeit Yayin HaMeshumar. So what exactly is the real thing? What are these things? The Goin continues. Look in Yud Aleph in number 12. Sudas Levyasan hu hadas shetisrabe ba'aretz. Sudas Levyasan is the proliferation of knowledge of Hashem. Shehu hasimcha hagadoila asher ein lamala mimena, which is the greatest simcha that there's nothing above it. V'chein Moshe Rabbeinu, a nickname for Moshe, Nikra Levyasan. V'al zanemar yatzarta l'sachek bai. That's v'hu hashashua shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu im hatzadikim shemechadesh lehem haTorah. There's an inyan that Hashem will be mechadesh Torah la'asad lavai. By the way, Yalkid Kershuni quoted that la'asad lavai Hashem's going to shecht the Levyasan, the shecht the sharabar with the fins of the Levyasan, and the tzaddikim are going to ask, ein shoichtim b'magal, and Hashem's going to say, what do you mean? Torah chadasha meiti teitzei. So the Levyasan represents a certain das Elokim, which is hasimcha hagadoila asher ein lamala mimena. Like it says, vayechezu es Elokim, re'iyah refers to an understanding of the pnimiyos haTorah. Nowadays we understand pshuto shel Torah. La'asalava, we're going to understand pnimiyus haTorah. Kimal haaretz deya. What's yayin hameshumar? Yayin hameshumar is soidos haTorah. You know, there's certain days of the year you see some people, they don't know what to do with themselves. It's because of their gadlus. Their neshama is yearning for something more, but they don't know what it is. There's no question that's what's happening. A day like Purim, a day like Simchas Torah. These are the holiest days of the year. You think it's a coincidence that what happened in Eretz Yisrael happened in Simchas Torah? Of course. The Sitra Achra will always try to be machriv and mechalel the holiest days. So Simchas Torah, there's an urge in the neshama to experience the great delights of Shar Habar, Yain HaMeshumar, and Sudas Levyasan. What does this have to do with La'asad Lavai? The Rambam writes throughout the writings of the Rambam that the Hana of the Yemos HaMashiach, look at number 17, the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam says in Parak Tes Halacha Beis, Umibnei Zeh Nisavu Kol Yisrael Niviehem B'Chachameim Limos HaMashiach. Why did the prophets and the sages yearn for the days of Mashiach? Kedei she'anuchu mimalchiyos, to have respite from the governments. Shein manichas Laslik b'Torah v'mitzvahs, v'yimtzu ha'margoya, and they'll have tranquility, v'yirbu b'chachma, l'fi sheba'oisan hayomim tirbeh hadas v'hachachma v'ha'emes. Says the Rambam, Melech HaMashiach, who will be Yamid Mizera David, will be Baal Chachma Yeser Mishloima, will have more wisdom than Shlomo HaMelech. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva the same thing, that Uvaoisei Hazman, Lo Yeh Sham Lo Rav, V'loi Melchama, in the times of Mashiach there won't be hunger, there won't be war, V'loi Kina, there won't be jealousy, V'sachris, competition. What will be? V'lo yeh esek kol ha'olam ela ladas es Hashem bilvad, ulefikach yiyu Yisrael chachamim gedolim v'yoidim dvarim hasesumim. In other words, the hana of the Yemos HaMashiach and La'asad Lavai is umala haaretz deya. The sudas Levyasan, the sukas Levyasan, is an experience of understanding and knowing Hashem, a recognition of a deeper understanding of Torah. You know, it's very interesting. I didn't read the Rambam this way, but Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi reads the Rambam in the following way. Look at number 19. The Rambam says in Hilchos Lulav, the Rambam writes about Simchas Beis Hashoeiva. The Rambam says they would play various instruments. Umi sheyodea bapeh, if you knew how to sing, you sang. V'roikdin, umesapkin, umetapchin, umefazazin, umekarkarin, kol echad ve'echad, k'moi sheyodea. So I thought k'moi sheyodea means whatever you know how to do, you do. You know how to play, you play. You know how to play the flute, you play the flute. You know how to play a different instrument, you play a different instrument. Rabbi Yerucham reads it, each person celebrated commensurate with his level of Yedias HaTorah. The more you knew Torah, the more you were able to celebrate. Because the Rambam continues in Mitzvah Yedaled, in Halach Yedaled, Mitzvah L'Harbes V'Mchazu, V'lo Yehoyu Oisin Oisa Amei Haaretz V'chol Mi She'yirtza. Not everyone could just rejoice by Simchas Beis Hashoeiva. Elo gedoyle chachmei Yisrael v'Rashi Yeshivos v'Sanhedrin v'Chasidim v'Anshe Maisa. You had to be on a great level of understanding, of wisdom, of Torah, of Masim Tovim. Why? If it's just about dancing and jumping and playing, anybody could do it. Adarabba, maybe people who are not as big Tamei Chacham, they knew how to play and jump around more. No, the simcha of the Simchas Hashoeiva was the simcha of Yedias Hashem. The Gemara says that Shmini Atzeret is the simcha of the three Sudas: Sudas Levyasan, Sudas Shar Habar, and Sudas Yayin HaMeshumar. All of these things are a deeper understanding of Teiras Hashem and Chachmas Elokus. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi says that there's no question that this is connected with Simchas Torah. What's Simchas Torah? I would argue it has nothing to do with finishing the Torah. The fact that we finish the Torah is a convenient, practical benefit that now that Simchas Torah exists, we'll attach it to the fact that every year now we finish the Torah. But that's not the meaning of Simchas Torah at its root. The Makar, the Yesoid of Simchas Torah is not that, we finished V'zoi Sarah, we got to La'enei Kol Yisrael, okay, now let's rejoice. No, that's after the fact. But what is Simchas Torah? Why is this the day chosen to finish the Torah? We could have finished the Torah a day before Bereshis, like the Levush asks. Wouldn't it be nice to lane in Shul on Rosh Hashanah, Bereshis? Why did they orchestrate it? Why did the Chazal make it that we finish V'zoi Sabracha on Simchas Torah? The answer is, we're not celebrating because we finish, because there's something unique about the day, therefore they finish the Torah on that day. And what's so special about this day? This is the day that is merames to new dimensions of understanding Torah Seinu HaKadosha. What are the new dimensions? Panimius HaTorah, Soidos HaTorah, represented by Sudas Levyasan, represented by Shar Habar, represented by Yayin HaMeshumar Ba'anavav Misheshes Meira. It's lehepach of the way we usually look at it. We usually think, we finished the Torah, so let's celebrate. No, they didn't always finish the Torah. There's something more profound about the essence of the day, that because of that, they scheduled later in history that we should finish the Torah on that day. And that is, this day is designated to be merames to greater Yedias HaTorah that we will be zoicha to la'asad lavai. So as great as the simcha of Sukkot is, greater is the simcha of Shmini Atzeret. Shmini Atzeret is the one day in the calendar that is mamish merames to tanugei olam haba. In fact, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chava writes, look at number 21. He says, V'zeh hu inyan simchas chag ha-Sukkos. This is the inyan of Sukkot that were commanded more than all the Yom Tovim. V'tiknu anshe knesses hagdoila b'tfila zman simchaseinu. Anshe knesses hagdoila masaken. We should say zman simchaseinu ki be'emes chag ha-Sukkos moira al malosam shel Yisrael v'haTorah V'al kibul scharam l'olam haba. Shmini Atzeret is keneged schar b'olam haba. Shmini Atzeret is a day shetzadikim yoshvim v'atroisem b'rasheim, and it's keneged v'nenim miziv hashchina. So I didn't intend to do this, but I think it's pretty clear. When we're mispalel, Kishem shekiyamti v'yashavti b'sukkah zu, kein ezkel shana ba leishev b'sukkas oirei shel Levyasan. Does it literally mean we should sit in a sukkah made out of a fish? That's what it means? Now I'm sitting in a sukkah with bamboo. Next year I want to sit in a fish sukkah. Just like Sudas Basar Shel Levyasan doesn't mean we're going to be we're going to be pecking out the fish. We're going to open it up. It's going to be a revisha fish. It's going to be slit in the middle. There are going to be tomatoes and lax and whitefish around it. It's referring to, it's a remez, it's a mashal to the great Yedias HaTorah that will have lots of love. So too, when we're mispalo, that we should be sitting in Sukkah Oira shel Levyasan. You think the Gemara would say it's referring to a physical sukkah? It's a remez. It's a remez to a certain level of basking in the shade of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and understanding Hashem. So it could be that even though, of course, a sukkah made out of a Levyasan is not kosher, that's not what we're referring to. We're referring to the hana of the Yedias HaTorah and the Yedias Hashem that will be zoicha to la'asad lavai. So maybe in the merit of sitting in the sukkah, we once spoke about the sukkah deepens and elevates our understanding and our hasaga of Torah, and therefore sukkah is shakal keneged kol mitzvos. There's an idea Rabbi Meir brings. By the way, the Sefer HaIkrim says maybe that you do everything in the sukkah except learn be'iyun. You don't have to learn be'iyun in the sukkah because the whole tachlis of the sukkah is to help you learn be'iyun. So you don't need to learn be'iyun in the sukkah. So it's a tefillah. We're saying just like we're zocheh to sit in the sukkah this year, and through it we have a greater hasaga of Yedias Hashem, we should be zocheh to that experience of to sit the Sukkah's Oira Shel Levyasan. It's very interesting. Rabbi Yehuda writes that there are three great matanos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Klal Yisrael: Torah, Eretz Yisrael, Olam Haba. Pesach is Keneged Eretz Yisrael, because the tachlis of Yitzias Mitzrayim was to go into Eretz Yisrael. Shavuos is Keneged the Torah, and Sukkot is Keneged Olam Haba. Rabbi Yehuda says, we sit in the sukkah. The purpose of sitting in the sukkah, it's Keneged Olam Haba. According to the way the Gemara explains it, the experience of the sukkah is Keneged Olam Haba. Its summit is reached on Shmini Atzeret. Shmini Atzeret is connected to the three su'udais of Levyasan, Shar Habar, Yayin HaMeshumar. The Mefarshim ask, it's very interesting that we take out 3 Sifrei Torah on Simchas Torah. I don't know that the Shulchan Aruch says we take out 3. What do we have to lane? We have to lane V'zois HaBracha, and we have to lane and the Maftir. The Gemara Megillah doesn't say anything about Bereshis. The Gemara Megillah doesn't say anything. It's not brought. I don't think it's brought in the Shulchan Aruch. You could bring a Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah. So why do we do it? The Tshuvas Radva says because once we finish something, we have to start right away. But it's not brought in halacha. It's not in the Shulchan Aruch. But it's interesting that we have 3 Sifrei Torah on Simchas Torah. Maybe it's Keneged these 3 inyanim. You have Shar Habar, you have Yayin HaMeshumar, and you have Sudas Levyasan. The Malbim also writes something incredible. The Malbim writes all 3 Yomim Tovim. I'll look at it after because if it can't help me anymore, right? The Malbim says something amazing. The Malbim says there are 3 Yomim Tovim that are Keneged, that are Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim: Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot. Says the Malbim, everything in this world has 3 stages: Chomer, Tzura, Tachlis. Chomer is the raw material, Tzura is the final product, and Tachlis is the purpose of it. So the potato is the Tzura. The potato kugel the potato is the Chomer. The potato kugel is the Tzura. And the Tachlis is that should be on the table. Whether you should eat it or not, that's a different story. Yeah? Sometimes you say, Ein lanu reshus l'shtamish b'hem, ela l'roisam bilvad. Yeah? But this kugel you should eat. Everything in this world has chomer, tzura, and tachlis. Let's talk about bread. You have the tvua is the chomer. And each stage of the grain has a mitzvah. So when the tefua is finished, the chomer is finished, as the Malbim. And the first mitzvah is bikurim. So you have the tefua grows, you bring bikurim. The next stage is meruach. You smooth out the top of it. That's nigmara tsuras halechem. And what do? The mitzvah of truma. And then that's the tzura. Then you roll the dough, and that's the tachlis. And then for that you have mitzvahs challah. Says the Rambam, Yetzias Mitzrayim also has chomer, tzura, and tachlis. Pesach is the chomer. The chomer is the Rebbe Hashem took us out. We got out. That's the chomer of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Shavuos is the tzura of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Hashem took us out, and we were mekabel the Torah. Mekabel the Torah. That's Yetzias Mitzrayim has come to its fullness, its final stage. The only thing is, that's not the tachlis of the Torah. The tachlis of the Torah is Sukkot. What's Sukkot? Olam haba. So the Rambam also says, the Yom Tov of Pesach is celebrating the chomer of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Yom Tov of Shavuos is celebrating the tzura of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Yom Tov of Sukkot is celebrating the tachlis of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The tachlis is Olam haba. In other words, if there's any time of the year where this designated for us to get a glimpse and to have a shemetz, to have a me'ain of the hana and the simcha of la'asad lavai, it's the Yom Tov of Sukkot. That's Shmini Atzeret. Shmini Atzeret is so designated for and merames ha'olam haba that it seems like the Gemara is saying there are three things happening on Shmini Atzeret that are connected, the three sudos of Levyasan, Shar Habar, and Yain Hamashumar Ba'anav. So it comes out that Simchas Torah is very connected to Shmini Atzeret and to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. And it's not because we finished the Torah. Sukkot is Keneged Olam Haba. Come Shmini Atzeret, and Shmini Atzeret, the Goyin was the happiest he was the whole year, because it's mamish the only time in this world we're being nene mi ziv hashchina. It's hanos ziv hashchina. So you see a bacher, he doesn't know what to do with himself on Simchas Torah. He has a big neshama. He's searching for the Shar Habar. He's searching for the Levyasan. That bacher may be us. He's searching for the Yain Hamashumar Ba'inav. And now we come to Simchas Torah. And we know there are holiest on Simchas Torah. You know, there's one other thing that the Rebbe Hashem will do for us, La'aseh Lavai. What does the Gemara in Tainis say? The Gemara says in Tainis, Amar Ula Bira, Amar Rebbe Lazar, Asid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasois Machoil L'Tzadikim V'hu Yoshe B'neihem B'Gan Eden. Hashem is destined to make a circle for the tzadikim, and He's sitting among them in Gan Eden. V'chol echad ve'echad mara be'etzboi shenemar v'amar b'yoyim hahu hinei Elokeinu zeh kivinu loi v'yoshienu. So Hashem kivinu loi nagila v'nisucha b'shuasai. That Hashem is destined to make a circle for the tzaddikim, and He's going to sit inside, and each one is going to point, and He's going to say, Zeh Hashem nagila v'nismacha b'shuasai. That's Simchas Torah. The Yalkut Shimoni says, we don't know, what do we celebrate on Simchas Torah? In the Yoim or in the Yeshuas Hashem? And the Yalkut says, on Simchas Torah we celebrate Yeshuas Hashem. Shenemar, Zeh Hashem kivinu loy nagila v'nismacha b'shuasai. B'shuasai b'cha b'shuasecha. That means the circles of Simchas Torah. Are you dancing because we finished the Torah? Yes. We're also dancing because we finished the Torah. But be'ikr, why are we dancing on Simchas Torah? Because just like Shmini Atzeret is Keneged La'aseh Lavai, Simchas Torah, which is part of Shmini Atzeret, is Keneged the Machoil that Hashem is destined to make for the tzaddikim. Now, the Shar Habar and the Levyasan and the Yain HaMashumar Ba'inav that Hashem is destined to make for the tzaddikim, is that going to happen at the same time as the Machoilos that Hashem is going to make for the tzaddikim? The Ramban in the Shar HaGemul says these two Gemaras, the Gemara in Bava Basra, that Hashem is destined to make a Suda for the tzaddikim in Gan Eden, and the Gemara that Hashem is destined to make a Machol for the tzaddikim, will happen at the same time. Mamela, if on Shmini Atzeret the Goyin says it's a remez to the Shar Habar and the Levyasan and Yanim Shemar, there has to be a remez to the Machol Shasad HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lasos Tzadikim. Guess what? That's Simchas Torah. So Simchas Torah Be'ikr is a continuation of the remez to La'aseh Lavai. And La'aseh Lavai is the greatest simcha that is available in this universe. Shehu ha'idun hagado michal ha'idunim she'icholim limatzei. Ha'adam le'nivra ela le'saneg al Hashem. Shehu, the Mesilas Yesharim says, is the greatest tainug and the greatest idun that is available in this universe. Therefore, it says Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chavar, Sukkot is man simchasenu, because it's a reference to the kibul schar la'asid lavai. So when you go to the Kiddush on Simchat Torah, it's a mashal. It's a mashal to the Levyasan and the Shar Habar and the Yayin HaMishra Be'inav, and these are all different aspects of Deya Es Hashem, which means that Be'ikr Simchas Torah is a celebration of a certain deeper understanding of Torah that becomes accessible on Simchas Torah. And it's a good thing that it is available then, just in time to be able to start learning the Torah once again. Meaning this deeper understanding of Torah is needed for Klal Yisrael to be able to start Bereshis. You know, the Makar of Siyum, the Gemara, the Chazal learn out from Shlomo HaMelech. When did Shlomo HaMelech ever make a Siyum? The Medrash says, when Hashem gave him Chachma v'leiv ladas, so Shlomo HaMelech went to be Mesameach. The only thing is, he didn't finish anything. He just got a chachma and leiv ladas. How could you learn out the joy of a siyum? The answer is, the joy of a siyum is not that you finished. It's when you finish something, you have more chachma and a greater leiv ladas to start something new. There's no joy, oh, I finished the Masechta. You know, many understand, you know why we start the new Masechta right away? Because the Satan's going to be Mekatreg. That's not the real reason. The real reason is, the joy of the Siyum is to be able to start. That is the joy. It's not a practical reason, you know, we don't want the Satan to be Mekatreg. That's also true. Be'ikr, it's the joy of the Siyum is a deeper leiv ladas than now it's ligmar v'hadar lizbar. Now I can understand the next topic better. So Be'ezus Hashem, we should all be Zoicha L'shana haba, to sit and enjoy the Sudas Levyasan and the Oiroi Shal Levyasan, and have greater Yedias HaTorah and Yedias Hashem, and we should be Zoicha to be Nene from the Shar Habar and the Levyasan and the Yayin HaMishron Be'inav, and we should be Zoicha to be in the Mechol that Hashem is going to make for the Tzadikim, and we should be Zoicha to say, Zeh Hashem Kivinu Loi Nagila V'nismacha V'Yeshua Asai Chag Kosher V'Sameach Shkoyach.